So on the back of the announcement of the new iPhone last week, we have the chart for Apple. So breaking it down, and we can have a look at sort of some of the key levels and where the price of this may go, because I think this chart is in a really interesting spot, particularly sort of compared with the rest of the Mag 7. I think there's some interesting opportunities on Apple. So we'll go ahead and we'll break down. So we have an all-time high. The all-time low is less relevant on this, so we'll just have the all-time high here, and we'll map out some monthly levels. So is there anything that we can see? We don't have one there, not one there. We have a monthly level here, which is interesting, this 138. You've got an interesting level there at 170. An interesting one at 108. So we'll put these in. And so we'll go into the weekly, because it's a little bit different of a chart to look at. So I think the first thing that sticks out to me is this 170 is a really key region. As we can see, it's come down in the Trump tariffs, and it has touched this again, which makes me assume that there is quite a strong reaction zone around here. So this is an area to watch out for should we come back. So if we zoom in, are there any weekly levels that stand out? We have a weekly level here where we may expect a reaction. What else do we have? There's another one there. I'll grab this and we just push it up underneath here. Nice thick line. There we are. On the upside, if we grab this, we've got one there that we can see we've reclaimed and pushed above. And then outside of that, we don't see a huge amount. Now, this is where this chart, I think, for me, gets a little bit interesting. So if we see on this weekly level, I'll move it down slightly to encapsulate that. We can see we've got big candle, big candle. There's a really big gap here. And this is where stock charts are a little bit harder to chart, because we have these gaps. As we can see, so if we look at where the volume lies, this may help us decipher where we would potentially be looking at. So if we go across here, zoom in, so what can we see? This point here is an interesting point. We can see that this is where the volume lies on this time frame. So if we put that there, we can see this is a really strong zone. So I would get a box here. Now I would box out there, and I'm going to box out here as well. And if we move down, we can see this area here. So we've got a potential liquidity sweep on here. We also have one here. And we also have here at the bottom of this, alongside another potential zone here. So go across, and on the upside we can see we have here, and we have one right at the top of here, some liquidity. And then yeah, so if we zoom out, what can we see? What's the first thing that sticks out to me? Well, I think probably shows it a little bit better on the weekly, but if we look in, we've got a tremendously large fair value gap here on the weekly. So if you can't already see it, we can see it's highlighted here. So I will go ahead and draw a box down covering there, and we'll make this that color. And we see this liquidity zone here. So if I turn this off for a second, we zoom in. So we do have a big fair value gap down into these liquidity zones, and we've got all of these back tests down here. We've obviously got the liquidity from the Trump tariff, and we've got this upward move that we see a rejection off. Now, looking at this from a pattern, you could potentially say that this is a good example of a triple top. As we can see, it's come here, rejected, come here, not managed to break this high. We've come all the way down, we've grabbed all the liquidity down here, we've closed this gap, we've closed this gap, come down, tested it, and then we've had this push up, and we failed to make a new high. Now we can see we come down and it's been resting quite strongly on this weekly level. So for me, looking at this from a trading perspective, if you lose this weekly level, I can see this filling in this fair value gap and potentially coming and testing some of the regions down here. Whether it be you get a bounce on this weekly level on here at 202, 196, 190, 183, or even come back down and do a full retest of this 170. I think that could be entirely plausible. I think this is quite a strong zone, so it would take a lot of sell pressure to break through this zone. But I think from an immediate trading point of view, we can see that this 240 area here is really strong resistance. I think if we flick on there, we can see this highlighted. Yeah, we can see you got big rejection order blocks up here. And as you can see, we've just bounced off here. And if we go down onto the daily, I think this will show it even more. Yeah, you can see, look, you've got all of this around here. For me, I think the next logical step on this would be a push down through this fair value gap here. The question will be is where you get your entry. Now, we can see the last couple of days we've come back down, we've retested this weekly, and we've pushed back up. So potentially you could be looking for a short around here before it then moves back down through this fair value gap to retest some of these. But I think from a chart perspective, it's really interesting. Certainly of the Mag 7, this is the one that I have my eye on the most. I think you've got invalidation for the triple top. If we were to be able to penetrate this 247 here, you'd then potentially be able to get a little bit more bullish of it coming and it's sweeping the all-time high up here at 260. If it fails to do so, I think you're looking at a retest further down. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on of the Mag 7. I think this is particularly interesting. And I think from a fundamental point of view, a lot of this will hinge on how well their new hardware goes down in the market. We know that the new iPhones have come out, so it'd be interesting to see how they sell. But from a chart perspective, I would be very worried about this fair value gap if you're on the long side. If you're looking for a short position, I think there's plenty of opportunity to take that trade.